The forgotten myth. In the deep silence of the galaxy, stories often traveled faster than light, tales carried in whispers between stars. Among them was the strangest story of all. The story of humans. Most young aliens did not believe it. They laughed when the old ones spoke. They said humans were only bedtime legends, made up to scare children, the way some species spoke of shadow beasts or ancient curses. But for the elders, the memory of humans carried weight. They had seen records hidden in old archives, half-burned by time. Records that showed battles so fierce, even the greatest fleets of the galaxy fell before them. But that was a long time ago. Centuries had passed. Civilizations had risen and fallen. The galaxy moved forward, and humans were forgotten. The official records claimed they were gone, extinct, erased from history. The Council of Worlds even declared that humans were just a story, nothing more. Yet, on the edge of known space, a young alien officer named Kale was not convinced. Kyle served on a patrol ship near the Silent Sectors, vast regions of space abandoned for ages. His people called it the graveyard of myths. Many ships refused to travel near it, saying strange signals sometimes echoed there. One quiet shift, as stars burned faintly outside, Kyle's console flickered. A weak transmission came through. It was not like anything in their database. The signal was old, broken, but it carried a rhythm, a pulse that repeated again and again. Kyle leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "Commander," he whispered to his superior, "you need to hear this." The commander was an older officer, tired of ghost stories. He listened for a moment, then shook his head. "Just static, nothing more. Forget it." But Kyle could not forget. He replayed the signal when he was alone. He slowed it, filtered it, and then something caught his breath. Embedded within the static were numbers, coordinates, and a strange code, a code so old that only forgotten archives could explain it. Kale checked against the hidden files his academy once showed him, and there it was, the same markings, the same style. It was human. Fear crawled over him, his skin chilled. He remembered the old warning his teacher once gave. If you ever find the mark of Terran fleets, leave it, run, and never return. But Kyle could not run. Curiosity burned too deep. He adjusted the ship's sensors toward the coordinates. What he found was not a living world, not a bustling fleet, but wreckage, countless wrecks drifting in silent space, massive hulls broken in half, their steel blackened by old battles. As the patrol ship drifted closer, Kyle's heart pounded. On one shattered hull, he saw words carved in a language long thought lost, glowing faintly through broken panels. Terran Navy? The commander stared in disbelief. The crew began to whisper. Some claimed it was fake, others swore it was cursed. "Humans are dead," the commander growled. "These are just ruins." But Kyle noticed something they all missed. The wreck was not completely dead. Deep inside, a weak energy signature still pulsed, like the heartbeat of a slumbering beast. And then, without warning, the patrol ship's lights flickered. The consoles went black for a breath. A new transmission forced its way through, not static this time, not broken, but clear, strong, terrifying in its simplicity. "We are watching." The crew froze. Silence filled the bridge. Every eye turned to Kyle, who had started this search. The commander's voice cracked as he whispered, That was no myth." After that night, nothing in Kyle's life was the same. He tried to sleep, but the words echoed in his mind. "We are watching." Who was watching? The dead or the living? If humans were only a story, then how could Ignal this strong pierce the silence of centuries? The next patrol logs were altered by command. The incident was hidden. Officers were ordered never to speak of it again, but secrets in the galaxy never stayed buried. Rumors began to spread. Merchants whispered of patrols hearing strange voices. Smugglers claimed to see ghost ships moving through the void and across the stars. In quiet corners where old leaders gathered, the whispers grew louder. "The humans are not gone," some said. "The humans are waiting." Others answered. Kyle carried the truth in his chest like a burning coal. He had seen it. He had heard it. The myth was real, and if humans were returning, the galaxy was not ready, because legends did not return as they were. Legends returned stronger, sharper, and far more dangerous. And deep in the graveyard of myths, unseen by alien eyes, a giant shadow shifted in the dark. An ancient warship powered up one system at a time, its engines glowing like the eyes of a beast awakening from a long sleep. First contact with shadows. The Council of Worlds sat in silence, their chambers filled with unease. The latest reports had reached them. Ships were vanishing in the border sectors, whole convoys disappearing without distress calls, their escorts cut off mid-sentence, but no one dared to say the word. No one dared to speak of humans. Instead, they called it piracy or storms or sensor malfunctions. But the whispers outside the chamber spoke differently. Everywhere, across markets and spaceports, one story was spreading. Ghost ships were hunting again. Kyle, the young officer who first discovered the signal, now found himself reassigned. He was moved to a research fleet sent to investigate deeper into the silent zones. He suspected this was no promotion. The council wanted the matter buried, but Kyle could not shake the voice that haunted his dreams. We are watching. The fleet moved into the shadowed sector. Hundreds of ships traveling together, each one bristling with weapons and scanners. Their orders were clear: find the truth and erase it if necessary. As they traveled through the graveyard of myths, the wreckage grew thicker. Giant hulks drifted like tombstones, some larger than entire cities, black scars running across their sides. The fleet's commanders dismissed them as old wars, relics of forgotten empires, but Kyle saw the patterns. Each wreck bore the same markings, same scars, same angles of destruction, the way a predator leaves its mark on prey. Then, on the 7th day of their journey, their long-range scanners caught movement, faint, almost invisible, like shadows slipping across the stars. Unknown signatures, Kyle whispered, his heart tightening. They're not in the database. The commander frowned. Cloaked pirates, most likely, he said, but his voice trembled. The fleet raised shields, weapons charged. The void grew tense. Minutes stretched like hours. The shadows lingered, always at the edge of vision, never close enough to confirm. Then one ship broke formation. Its crew panicked. They fired into the darkness, bright beams tearing across empty space. That was when the shadows struck. Out of nowhere, a massive shape appeared, silent and cold, its armor black as the void, only its engines glowing faintly like the embers of a dying star. A ship unlike anything the fleet had ever seen. Kale's console screamed with warnings. Ancient codes flashed across the screen, words he should not have been able to read but somehow understood. Terran warship, designation unknown. The alien fleet unleashed their fire. Beams and missiles swarmed toward the black ship, but nothing touched it. Shields of impossible power flared to life. The warship moved slowly, like a predator in no hurry, as if it knew the outcome was already written. In seconds, its weapons activated. Bright lances of energy tore through the nearest alien vessel, slicing it apart as if it were made of paper. Panic filled the comms. Captains shouted. Orders clashed. Ships fled. Others fought blindly. Kyle watched in frozen horror. The warship did not fight like any species in the galaxy. It did not waste energy. It did not chase. It simply destroyed with cold precision, one shot for one ship, over and over. And then, as quickly as it appeared, the warship vanished, slipping back into the void, leaving behind only wreckage and silence. The fleet was broken. A dozen ships lost. The survivors limped away, their captains too afraid to speak. Back on the research vessel, KL stared at the empty stars. He knew this was no accident. No pirates, no storms. This was deliberate. This was a warning. Later that night, when the ship's lights dimmed for rest cycles, KL sat alone in the observation deck, his reflection staring back at him. Then, without warning, the glass shimmered and words appeared across it, faint glowing letters written in ancient human code. Do not follow. KL's breath caught, his hands trembled. He whispered to the empty room. They know us. They see us. What terrified him most was not the warning itself, but the feeling behind it. It was not anger, not hatred, but something colder. It was patience. The humans were not attacking for revenge. They were not desperate survivors. They were waiting. The council tried to silence the survivors, ordered them never to speak. The official report called it a natural anomaly. But deep down, every officer who saw the shadows knew the truth. The myth was awake. The humans were real, their warships still alive. And they were watching. The galaxy, for the first time in centuries, remembered fear. Whispers become terror. The galaxy had always been a place of trade, politics, and uneasy peace. But now fear crept into every corner. Fear spread faster than light. Merchants whispered of ghost ships that blinked in and out of existence. Patrols told hushed stories of fleets vanishing without a trace. No one spoke openly of humans, yet the word lingered unspoken on every tongue. Kyle, still haunted by the warning "do not follow," found himself trapped between truth and silence. The council had forbidden him to speak. They called the events classified, but in the dark halls of stations, rumors grew like wildfire. A miner on the edge of the rim swore his convoy had been spared by a black warship. He claimed the human ship had locked weapons but never fired. Instead, it broadcasted a chilling phrase, "Leave this place." The convoy obeyed, abandoning their cargo, and lived to tell the tale. Soon, more reports came. Smugglers claimed to see shapes moving just beyond their sensors. Governments denied everything, but the people were not fools. Whispers turned into belief, and belief turned into terror. In one crowded marketplace, Kyle overheard two alien traders arguing. "They are just legends," one hissed. "Stories to frighten fools." "Then why are systems emptying?" the other replied. "Why do ships not return?" The Galaxy Council tried to calm the panic, broadcasting messages of safety and order, but their voices sounded hollow. Their leaders looked shaken. Behind closed doors, they argued, terrified of admitting what they all suspected. A single word echoed in every chamber: humans. Kyle was summoned to testify again. The council chamber was filled with leaders from a dozen species, their eyes cold and suspicious. The High Chancellor leaned forward, her voice sharp. "Lieutenant Kyle, you reported seeing an ancient Terran warship. Do you still stand by this claim?" Kyle's mouth went dry. He knew speaking the truth could end his career, but the memory of the glowing words haunted him. He took a breath. "Yes, Chancellor. I saw it. I heard them. They are not myths." The chamber erupted, voices clashing, some furious, others afraid. One elder slammed his claw against the table. "If humans live, then the galaxy is doomed." But before the session could continue, a messenger ship burst into orbit, its engines damaged, its crew trembling. They had witnessed something on the rim. An entire defense fleet gone in less than an hour, destroyed by a single vessel. The council demanded evidence, and the messenger played the recording. Static filled the room. Then a low voice echoed across the speakers. "Calm, steady, human, do not test us again." Every being in the chamber froze. The blood drained from their faces. The myth had spoken. In the following weeks, panic erupted across sectors. Planets fortified their defenses. Trade routes closed. Empires pointed weapons at the shadows. But nothing could prepare them. One night, in the vast capital city of the Jor Empire, thousands watched as the sky flickered. A giant silhouette appeared above the moon, not firing, not attacking, simply watching, its black hull gleaming under the starlight. People screamed. Others prayed. The Empire's fleet scrambled, but the warship vanished before they arrived. The fear was no longer just rumor. It was visible, undeniable. Kale lay awake in his quarters, staring at the ceiling. The voice replayed in his mind. "Do not follow. Do not test us." What did it mean? Were the humans protecting something or preparing for something larger? He wondered if humanity had been hiding in the shadows all along, watching the galaxy grow fat and arrogant, waiting for the right time to step forward. On the far edge of space, unseen by alien eyes, entire fleets of human warships stirred from their slumber, engines humming, hulls scarred but deadly. Each one bore the same ancient symbol, Terran Navy. They had been silent for centuries, but silence was over. The whispers had become truth, and the truth had become terror. The galaxy had forgotten humanity, but humanity had not forgotten the galaxy, and soon the stars themselves would tremble. The first appearance. For centuries, alien fleets ruled the stars. They believed no force could challenge them. They believed no myth could shake their power. But that illusion ended the day the first human warship revealed itself to the galaxy. The Jor Empire, proud and ruthless, had long mocked the rumors. Their generals laughed at the idea of humans returning. They called them ghost stories for frightened children, but fear grew within their borders as more convoys disappeared. Finally, the Emperor ordered an armada of 50 ships to patrol the Silent Rim. Their mission was simple: crush whatever haunted the shadows, return with proof. The fleet entered the graveyard of myths, engines burning bright, weapons armed, their commanders confident. For days, they saw nothing but wrecks, broken ships drifting like bones, until suddenly, their sensors flared, a single contact. Massive, moving slowly, as if it did not fear them. The commander smirked. "Just one ship," he laughed. "We will burn it into dust." But when the shadow emerged from the void, their laughter died. The warship was colossal, larger than their flagships, its hull blackened by ancient battles, scars carved deep into its steel, yet still alive. Its engines glowed faint blue, steady and calm, like the heartbeat of something eternal. On its side, half buried under armor, the words could still be seen. Terran Navy. Panic spread across the fleet. Captains shouted over comms, "It cannot be real. It is just a relic. Fire now." The order came. 50 ships unleashed everything they had. Beams of energy, swarms of missiles, storms of plasma. The void lit up like a star. But when the light cleared, the human ship still stood. Shields shimmered faintly, absorbing the storm like rain against stone. Then the warship answered. One lance of energy fired, precise, surgical, cutting a destroyer in half. The explosion echoed across the fleet. Another beam fired, another ship torn apart. Every shot from the Terran vessel ended a life. No wasted fire, no missed strikes. Panic turned into chaos. Some ships tried to flee, others charged forward in desperation. The human warship moved through them like a predator through prey, calm, relentless, unstoppable. Kyle, watching the battle from a distant outpost relay, felt his blood run cold. He heard the screams across open channels, captains begging for orders, soldiers praying to gods, all silenced one by one. Within minutes, the armada was gone. Wrecks drifted where proud ships once stood. The human warship lingered, silent, unchallenged. Then, as if mocking the survivors who listened from afar, it broadcasted one simple message across every frequency. "This galaxy is under our watch." The message repeated once. Then the warship vanished, slipping back into the shadows. The galaxy erupted in fear. News spread faster than any council could contain. Empires tried to silence their citizens, but recordings of the battle leaked. Markets replayed the footage, showing the black warship tearing through the Zor fleet. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy understood what true power looked like. Leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Voices shook, plans collapsed. Some demanded war, others begged for peace. One elder spoke words that chilled the chamber. "You cannot fight myths. You cannot fight gods." Kyle sat alone that night, staring at the stars. He knew now that humanity had never been destroyed. They had never been extinct. They had waited, hidden in silence, building, watching. But the question burned in his mind. Why reveal themselves now? Why step into the light after centuries of silence? Was this only a warning, or the beginning of something greater? As he drifted into uneasy sleep, Kyle dreamed of stars filled with human fleets, warships darkening entire sectors, their engines roaring like storms, and far away, in the hidden shadows of the rim, deep within the graveyard of myths, more human ships awakened, one after another. Titans stirred, weapons hummed, their ancient codes whispered across space, Terran Navy operational. The myth was over, the humans had returned, and the galaxy would never be the same. The return of humanity, the destruction of the Zor Armada was not the end, it was only the beginning. For weeks the galaxy shook with fear. Rumors spread like fire. Some said the warship was a lone survivor. Others swore entire fleets waited in the shadows. The council tried to calm the chaos, calling it an isolated event, but no one believed them anymore. On distant colonies, workers whispered the old name in fear, humans. Kyle found himself summoned again, not as a soldier, but as a witness. The council needed answers, their leaders argued. Some demanded an alliance of empires to crush the threat. Others argued that no force could stand against ships like that. In the middle of their debates, a new transmission struck the galaxy. This time not a whisper, not a rumor, but a broadcast sent across every major channel. A face appeared, human, scarred, calm, the voice steady. "We are the Terran Navy. We are not gone. We are not myths. We have watched you from the shadows, and we will no longer remain silent." The chamber fell into silence. Kyle's heart pounded as the message continued. "For centuries, you spoke of us as stories, but stories can rise, legends can breathe, and myths can return. The galaxy belongs to none but itself, yet we will protect it on our terms." Then the screen turned black. Before the council could respond, reports began to arrive from every corner of Taat. Galaxy, human ships had appeared, not one, not two, but dozens. In the core sectors, black silhouettes hovered near trade routes, not firing, simply watching. In the rim, entire convoys vanished, their cargo seized, their crews released unharmed, always with the same words carved into their ships before departure. Humanity has returned. In the neutral zones, Warships decloaked above stations, sending warnings before vanishing again. Panic turned to chaos. Some empires began mobilizing for war. Others collapsed into fear. Many smaller species surrendered before a shot was fired, desperate to avoid the fate of the Jor fleet. Kyle sat in his quarters, staring at the reports, each one carrying the same pattern. Humans were everywhere. They had never been extinct. They had hidden. Building strength in silence, he remembered the words he first heard in the graveyard of myths. We are watching. And now he understood. They had been watching all along, learning the weaknesses of every empire, every fleet, every defense. And now, they were striking not with brute force, but with terror. The council called another emergency summit, their voices sharp, their faces pale. "They are trying to dominate us," one shouted. "No," another whispered. "They are reminding us of who they are." Kyle stood at the edge of the chamber, his thoughts burning. He could see the fear in the leader's eyes, but he also felt something else, something colder, inevitability. The humans had chosen their moment carefully when the empires were divided, when arrogance had blinded them, when no one expected the shadows to rise. Outside, beyond the council's walls, millions of citizens filled the streets in panic. Some demanded their leaders fight back, others prayed for mercy. The galaxy was trembling, and far away, in the silence of the rim, massive fleets of Terran warships gathered, their engines roaring like storms, their hulls scarred but alive, their weapons burning with light. One ship broadcasted a final message before vanishing into the dark. "We are humanity, and the stars remember us." Kale whispered the words under his breath, his body cold, his mind heavy. He knew now that the myth was not only real but unstoppable. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy's future would be written in their shadow. Fear and submission. The galaxy had known war before. Empires had risen and fallen, battles had scarred countless worlds, but nothing compared to what they now faced. The return of humanity was not a war. It was a storm. Human warships did not march openly across the stars. They appeared without warning, destroyed with precision, and vanished again. Entire fleets of proud empires fell in minutes, not hours, not days, but minutes. The Jor Empire, once bold, now trembled. Their generals refused to leave their strongholds, their admirals resigned, their citizens whispered in fear every night, wondering if the black ships would return. The Iraqi Federation tried to resist. They gathered 200 ships at their border, the largest fleet they had ever assembled. They declared to the galaxy that they would stand against the Terran myth, that humanity would be broken once and for all. But when the human fleet arrived, it did not even fire first. It simply transmitted a single message: leave or be erased. The Iraqi refused. They opened fire with everything they had. Their courage burned bright for a moment. But when the light cleared, only wreckage remained. The human ships moved through them like shadows through dust, leaving no survivors. The news spread faster than light, and one by one, other empires began to break. Some surrendered without a fight, broadcasting pleas for peace across the stars. Others collapsed from within, their people demanding safety from the myth they could no longer deny. The Council of Worlds held desperate meetings, but their power had turned to ash. Their words meant nothing, their promises empty. Every leader knew the truth. No weapon in the galaxy could match the Terran fleets. Kyle sat in the chamber, his chest heavy. He watched proud leaders lower their heads in defeat. Even those who once mocked the myth now whispered the same words: "We cannot win." But what haunted him most was not the battles, not the wreckage, not the endless silence left behind. It was the way humanity fought. They did not conquer with rage. They did not burn planets for glory. They moved with purpose, precise and cold. Every strike was measured, every word deliberate. It was not cruelty, it was control. Alien worlds fell to their knees, not because humanity demanded it, but because they had no choice. Survival meant submission. Resistance meant extinction. On the rim worlds, statues of ancient heroes were torn down, replaced with symbols of the Terran Navy. Citizens bowed when black ships passed overhead, not from loyalty, but from terror. Kyle walked through one such colony during inspection. He saw children whispering about the shadows. He saw elders telling stories of the myth as if it were a god returned, not a species, not flesh, but destiny. That night, while the stars glimmered faintly, another human broadcast cut through the galaxy, calm, steady, unshaken. This galaxy is no longer blind. You have forgotten us, but we have not forgotten you. Order will be restored one way or another." The words echoed across every world, and silence followed, a silence more powerful than any weapon. Empires once proud now begged for terms, great fleets lay in ruins, and Kyle realized the truth. This was not the return of a forgotten species. It was the rise of a new order. Humanity was not here to reclaim their place. They were here to shape the galaxy. Itself, the myth had become law, and the law was written in the shadow of Terran warships. The new order, the galaxy had bent, it had submitted, and now it waited. World after world lowered its banners. Empires that once boasted of eternal rule now whispered for mercy. The Council of Worlds, once the heart of order, sat broken, their leaders powerless, their voices trembling, and above them, always watching, were the human warships. They no longer hid in shadows. They no longer struck and vanished. They appeared openly, fleets of black steel stretching across the stars, their engines burning like suns, their hulls carved with the words Terran Navy. Citizens gathered on planets to watch them pass overhead. Some prayed, some cursed, but none dared to resist. Kale stood at the edge of the council chamber, his eyes fixed on the massive holoscreen before him. The broadcast had begun. Every world, every station, every ship tuned in. A human commander appeared, tall, scarred, his eyes calm and steady. His voice carried not anger, but finality. "We are humanity. You thought us myths. But myths do not vanish. They wait, they endure, they return." The chamber shook with silence. The commander's voice rolled like thunder. "We have watched as you fought, as you betrayed, as you forgot. But now the age of forgetting is over. There will be no more blind counsels, no more broken promises, no more arrogance without consequence. This galaxy is ours to protect and ours to command." The words cut through every species. Leaders who once ruled bowed their heads. Soldiers who once resisted dropped their weapons. The galaxy listened. And for the first time in history, it obeyed without question. Kael's heart pounded. He wanted to speak, to ask why, to ask what humanity truly wanted. But deep down he already knew. The humans were not seeking revenge. They were not seeking conquest, for wealth or pride. They were reshaping the stars, molding the galaxy in their image. One built not on peace, but on fear and obedience. Soon, fleets of alien ships were ordered to disarm, stations were commanded to surrender their weapons, and those who refused were erased within moments. No mercy, no hesitation, on dozens of worlds. Statues of alien rulers were torn down, replaced by towering monuments of human steel. Black banners bearing the Terran symbol unfurled above capitals. Children learned new stories, not of their ancestors, but of the return of humanity, of the myth that became flesh. Kale walked the streets of one such colony. He saw fear in every face, but also something else, a strange acceptance, as if the galaxy itself had finally remembered who its masters were meant to be. That night, Kale looked to the sky. Dozens of human ships hovered above like silent gods. He whispered to himself, "The myth is over. This is the order now." In the hidden chambers of their command ships, human admirals spoke quietly, their words never reaching alien ears. "They are not ready yet," one said. "But they will learn," another replied. And the commander, the same one who spoke to the galaxy, ended the meeting with a single phrase. "We were legends once, now we are destiny." The galaxy had entered a new age, not of freedom, not of balance, but of human rule. And in the cold silence of space, the stars themselves seemed to bow. The myth had returned, the warships had spoken, and the new order was here to stay.